Episode 45. Yeah, I'm not super excited about this one, guys. But welcome and thank y'all for coming.
I'm glad you guys are here. This is
Yeah,
this is gonna be
yeah,
good. This is gonna be
yeah.
good.
It's gonna be great. Yeah, there's no best and worst this week. We're just gonna skip that part entirely.
Yeah.
All right, guys. So our first guest originally was going to be Brian Potter, but he's running a little bit late. So we have our first guest actually is going to be Robyn Markland of Redline. So tonight, basically, we're just having various guests come on, and we're going to talk about Tom, talk about the impact that he had on the reptile community, the impact that he had on all of us, and just how incredible a person he was. So, with all that being said, Molly, do you mind bringing Robyn?
Yeah, let's get into it. Hey, Robyn.
How are you doing, bud?
Hey, just like that, here I am.
Yeah, like I said, sorry, things, this actually just kind of feels appropriate. We're always a little chaotic on Late to the Mic, and honestly, I was talking to Chase right before the show started, wondering how this is going to go, trying to wrangle cats and 5 guests all at once.
Yeah.
And so it's a strong start. I love it, but I'm really...
You'll have Potter in a minute. He thought, like actually I did, that it was tomorrow night. So
Oh,
he
texted me back. He's scrambling to get
it's okay. What's funny is I made sure
technology.
the date in the message, because the first messages I sent to people when I was asking people, I just said this Thursday, and I was like, maybe people are going to get confused on the date, and that's going to cause issues. But it's okay. You know what? We're good. We're good. We're going to roll.
He'll show up eventually and bring his
he'll be here.
lovely charm.
He just popped backstage.
To the show.
of course. We still have to do some things in Late to the Mic fashion. It's gotta be a little bit of that.
I love it. So
I'm sure he'll tell a story about Tom featuring some kind of titties or something, they're wedged in there completely inappropriately. But
God, I hope so. So
no, you're supposed to root against that. Pat.
No, because Tom would root against it, but I'm not going to.
Yeah.
Love it so much.
Yeah.
Awesome, man. So I guess, how long have you known Tom? Let's start there.
I was thinking about it. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
It feels like decades. Like it feels like, we've done shows together for many, many years. And, we all live this really weird life, right? In this culture and this lifestyle where we travel around the country and see this family of people together.
Yeah.
And it's different than a lot of industries and a lot of businesses. But as time passes, you start to develop relationships with folks. And you might not see them but once a year, twice a year, maybe 4 times a year, which is what I would see, Tom Harbin. I'd see him at like NARBC shows, run into him in Arlington, Tinley, Schaumburg, maybe for, a more newer show. And there's a bunch of people like that I see just at the shows. And some of those people I'm not looking forward to seeing. Some I'm ambivalent about seeing, like Dr. Pat.
Yeah, that's fair.
If we have to fight and battle about our lanyard superiority.
It's true.
But there are people in my life and in our life and in our circle of our family that I really look forward to seeing at every show.
Yeah.
And one of those guys is Tom Harbin. He was just a different, special person. And like I said, my memory of shows goes back a long ways, but it just, when I think about shows, literally, I go to a show and I think, if Tom's going to be there, I'm going to connect with Tom Harbin. And there's just not very many personalities or people that have that type of effect. We joke about Potter and make inappropriate jokes and humor and stuff. And I look forward to seeing Brian Potter.
I'm glad somebody does.
Yeah.
Just Steve Potter, I love you.
But I look forward to seeing Tom Harbin because I can share kindness with Tom Harbin.
Yeah.
there's no snarkiness with Tom. There was no, cutting on each other or, ribbing each other kind of thing. He's just a good human being.
Yeah.
And the warmth and friendship that I had with him was really special to me. So genuinely, when I would go to a show, I would look forward to seeing a couple of folks, and one of them was Tom. His smile and his eyes that he would light up when he would see you, that's very special. So yeah, I always look forward to seeing him at the shows. And I never saw him outside of a show.
Yeah.
But I still feel like I had a nice, good and strong relationship with him, even though, again, he was part of that extended family circle that we only see on this weird show circuit that we all do.
I think that's the perfect way to kind of to say it, right? Is the reptile community is our extended family, and that, like, there are people, right, that I plan out, like, what shows are y'all going to so we can plan to see each other at these shows, right? And there are people that I see more than my own extended family, and it is interesting how those relationships develop so closely. It's so tight knit, right? Because we do almost every waking second of an entire weekend 6-7 times a year with these individuals, and we all bond. All of us are from very different walks of life outside of reptiles, right? That's the other beautiful thing over this one. And we get to meet these incredible people like Tom, and.
But the interesting thing is the nature of those relationships. And I'm sure you guys are the same way. Like, they're not all the same.
No.
Right?
Yeah.
I do like Dr. Pat here a lot. But we have a very sarcastic interaction talking about, stickers and lanyards. And
that's everybody with Dr. Pat, though.
Yes. I just like the goof that he's a doctor. I think that's amazing.
I love it.
But, and then, and you have a very sarcastic relationship with somebody like Brian Potter, who has a very cynical and cutting sense of humor. I have a lot of business relationships in the reptile world, and when I go, and some of the interactions are business related, right? Yeah. And then some are very human interactions, and you just your eyes light up when you see certain folks. And I hadn't really thought about this before just coming on, but some folks you're not necessarily close to, and yet because of this connection that we have, because of this family that we have, their trials and tribulations can hit home.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking of you, Chase. When you went through your battle, it was very impactful, but I didn't know you.
Yeah.
I didn't know you personally.
Yeah.
But this is a member of our extended family and community that has this tremendous weight and this struggle. And so it's just, sometimes it's amazing, and I've never heard you speak about it, but it's amazing to see the support that comes out from folks.
Yeah.
And say, hey, we love you. We support you. We want to see you pull through this.
Yeah, it was amazing. Like, not just for me, but I mean, just what my extended family in this community did for my family. Like the calls mom and dad got through that, and we're just so blessed. Like, I just had a clear checkup this past Friday, and my dad still does like the Friday updates where we let everybody know, like, hey, we're good. We're good. We want to let the whole family know, and very blessed we can do that still.
Yeah. I mean, in the grand scheme of the world, we're all so lucky, right?
Yeah.
And then at the same time, it's been a shitty year in some senses.
It's been rough.
We lost Barchek early this year, and that was very difficult. And we all had to watch him struggle through his extended cancer battle. And then maybe somewhat similar to Chase, Stan at Sea of Serpents lost his wife to cancer. I don't know Stan. Never met Stan. But we got involved with that and supporting him and helping to support the fundraiser and stuff that they were doing, because that's a member of my community.
Yeah.
You know, that's a member of my family. And, you know, these things are important to me. And some of it, granted, is I'm getting to be an old man at this point, and you soften up quite a bit.
Yeah.
You know, I was talking to Chris Eaton the other day, another grizzled old
to say the least,
chewed piece of gum.
He's a little bit less of a person than he used to be, but yeah.
He's 75% there.
He's 75%.
But he agreed. You know, we just we're talking. We were actually talking about Tom at the time.
Yeah.
And just how things like this start to affect us. And we both joked, like, you know, holy shit, at our age and with this much perspective and experience, fuck, sometimes I cry during commercials. You know, like, you know, just sad moments. Things affect me in a different way than they did when I was 30. So losing members of my community and my family circle is very impactful. And Tom was just a really special guy.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's the suddenness of losing him was that really hurts and bites hard, because you don't get a chance to say, you know, hey man, I love you, or goodbye, or hey, this is what you mean to me. Give me 3 minutes to let me tell you what you mean to me and how you've positively affected my life. I mean, he would have to have weeks of time to listen to people tell him how he affected their life. I've seen that since he's passed.
God. Yeah.
I mean, he's just a really incredibly well-regarded guy. And for folks that didn't know him or interact with him, we're just talking about a naturally kind soul.
Yeah.
And a naturally good man.
Yeah, that smile he had on, that was him as a person.
I was just
saying, smile in his eyes were just,
man.
Robyn, that right there is the epitome of every person who interacted with Tom, and I guarantee every person that comes on tonight and talks with us.
Think about his smile in his face.
It's the smile.
Yep. Yeah.
God.
And he was no bullshit. He wasn't putting it on. He had a genuineness about him. You were like, holy shit, he's happy to see me. That's fucking fantastic.
I love it.
You know, one of the most recent interactions I had with him was at a show. We had a quiet moment. There was nobody else around. It was just me and him at his table. And we chatted about animals, reptiles, you know, for a couple seconds. But then we just started talking about life. And, you know, he had transitioned and he was retiring from his veterinary practice and you know, moving to that different stage of life where he's not going to be working full time, but still has his passion for his animals. And at this point, he's been doing some really awesome, you know, hog-nose stuff and working with some really great animals. But we just kind of talked about how ugly the world had gotten and how divisive and mean it seemed. And it kind of made him and I both sad.
Yeah.
Because it just doesn't need to be that way. And we got into, it kind of evolved, the conversation evolved into how grateful we both were for the things we had in life and how lucky we were to be doing things that we loved, number one, and how the perspective of having good people in our life.
Yeah.
And, you know, to have a conversation about, hey, I've got good people in my life, have a conversation about that with Tom Harbin. That's a perfect example of a good person in my life. And I recognized that in the moment, and he recognized it as well. And I told him, I was like, Tom, I fucking love you, man. You're just such an awesome person. I love talking to you. I love sharing time with you. And you know, he reciprocated and he, you know, said the same things. But I literally said, I love you, man, which is a great opportunity to be able to express that to him at the time, because again, it was just me and him. There's nobody else around.
No,
and
I think it's great.
You know, he was tearing up, talking about his gratefulness in life and the things he was happy for and the good people that he had around him. And I teared up as well. And so technically, we were standing there crying, not bawling, not blubbering, not spotting on our shirts, but it was a moment.
I've done a lot of ugly crying the past 2 weeks, so it's okay. It's okay.
Yeah, and it is okay. But you know, in hindsight, the subtlety of it made it even more powerful.
Yeah,
you're just sitting here sharing a moment with another human being that you truly love and appreciate.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, I have a chance to tell you this. Of course, I had no idea that, you know, a year later I wouldn't be able to tell him anymore.
Right.
But
yeah,
felt right at the time. And in hindsight, I'm really glad that I got to express that very specifically to him, because again, I love that guy. No, he's just such a good human being. His snakes are fine. They're world-class. He breeds great animals, all that, you know, fantastic.
That wasn't the important.
Yeah. As a human being, if you had to pick, you know, best people in this room, Tom's got to be at the top of the list. Like, he was just a great dude. He was just a great dude. And he made everybody's lives better.
I agree.
Yeah.
I hate to cut you off, Robyn. I gotta bring Potter in. I know.
Yeah. Bring him on.
I'm gonna bring him in and
there for a little bit. Keep him in there for a little bit. There we go.
Yeah.
All right. Let me just say, first of all, Robyn said all the stuff that I told him I was gonna say. So now I don't have.
This is what we needed.
I told Robyn, like, he's like, "What are you gonna say?" And I told him he's writing shit down. I'm watching him, and the next thing I know, I'm watching him. I'm like, he's just going down my list.
Bing, bing, bing. Yeah, it's actually true. I never had the conversation with Tom. That was Brian.
It was me.
Yeah. Can we briefly mention how sunburned Brian looked?
You know, I don't know what that is. Every time I shower, I get that. Like I look like I was out in the sun. I wasn't red before I took a shower. I don't know what happens to me.
I just appreciate you showering for the show. Like,
I did. I wanted to smell good.
No, thank you. That's good. That's the important part. So.
Oh, guys, you guys called me up about Tom, and you know, I had heard the news, and I said to you guys, first thing was like, I don't have like a good Tom story. You know, we didn't like do the donkey show in Tijuana together. We didn't really have anything to like bond over. But what I would always say is that guy, he would leave the table, you know, any RBC, obviously he'd come check in, get his paperwork, get his badges.
Yeah.
Always the kindest guy, always intelligent enough to fill out a 7-part form, unlike 95%. Totally just smiling, happy, just like, whatever, let me pay in full. You know, everything's great. Thanks so much for what you guys do. Just the kindest guy, and made the room when he was around, made the room a better place to be in. You know, he just was a great dude, man. And I think what the people that don't know him and the people that do know him need to understand is, like, be more like Tom Harbin, and you'll do better in this industry.
Yeah,
for sure. Yeah, it's a great point. Great point. You wrote that down, and I forgot to say that.
That was the one thing you were going to say, but since you took all the things I was going to say, now I had to say your thing.
Oh God, I love it so much. No, Brian. I think that's the perfect part, and that was part of the reason like we were excited to have you on, because a lot of us, I feel like we interacted with Tom very much so like colleague, and I felt like you not only got to see Tom in the show, but also I'm sure heard from dealt with Tom. Like, you got to just see the effect Tom had on the show in general. And
yeah, man. Like, you'd walk around, you know, like sometimes I'll go zipping around the show. I got to collect money or do something. And if you see him down an aisle and he's walking towards you, he's just smiling and like so happy. And just always. There's like the guy, I don't know if the guy ever had a bad day. And if he did, he never let it out.
100% accurate. He had the 1,000,000 megawatt smile, right?
Yep.
Just God, and he pulled off a mustache. That's also really like. Let's talk about that.
Who did he was like? I'm gonna throw this out. Did he look like one of like the Simon and Garfunkel guys? Is that what it was?
Yeah, a little bit.
Is that who it was? Because I knew he always reminded me of somebody, but I never really had a minute to like ask him or talk about it.
Oh God, yeah, man, 100%.
But now that you say it, I can see it.
Right?
I swear, he always reminds me of somebody.
I think you're thinking CSN, Crosby, Stills, and Nash, maybe.
Oh,
Maybe it was somebody, and I never asked him about it. I don't know why, but
I mean, I'm kind of glad you didn't.
I don't know. I kind of would have liked to see that conversation. Just Potter walk up to
he would have just smiled, laughed, and been like, "Yeah, I get that." It would have been just totally like,
100%.
There's no way he'd have been like, "Oh my God, I'm upset."
He would have just chuckled and like had that little like, ha, yeah, and then just brushed it off and moved on. Right?
Yep. He's just always going to be that guy, which is the nicest guy. Guys that we need more of in the industry. And it's like Robyn said, there was nothing amazing about his animals, and that's not a slight on him, but it wasn't like Tom will be remembered for Tom, not Tom remembered for Tom's animals.
Agreed.
Right?
Yeah.
Agreed. Yeah. You're right. He had good stuff. He had some great animals.
Yeah.
Cutting edge hogs. That's
But I never.
But nothing will override Tom.
It was him.
No,
yeah.
It was Tom, and I think that's legacy. Like I'm not an old guy. I'm 37. I'm a kid. But like when I think about my legacy and like what I want, when I talk to my wife and my parents about all this stuff going on, to be in a place where like 99% of the people, when they remember you, what they say about you is how good of a person you are. I mean, does it get better than that? I think that's
no.
Tom could have.
Yeah.
Right? Is that there's not a single person that I've ever talked to that ever had an interaction with Tom that had anything to say about good stuff.
Like Robyn was saying earlier, the older we get, and this will happen to you, I guarantee, because it's happening to all of my friends. I'm 53 now, and you get sappy and you get soft, and you really just start to not care about the bullshit that goes on in the industry at all. Like, I haven't cared for 2 years about responding to one of Darian's posts. I just I see him now. I give Darian a hug. Hey, what's up, bro? What's going on?
Yeah.
Good. Early on, I was all worked up about everything, and everybody else. And I'm not just picking on Darian. I'm just busting his balls.
That's okay. Yeah.
Every little thing bothers you. And when you start hitting this age, man, all of a sudden, none of that shit bothers you. And you start realizing what's important. And what's important is being kind, like Brian Barczyk said. And like Tom always was. Tom lived that life. It wasn't like a tagline for Tom, but he truly lived that life all the time.
Yeah.
And you start getting it. We're just getting different in this industry by age. You see the guys that are older that have been around and how they handle things and what's important to them and what they talk about. And
yeah,
it's just a different feeling, a different vibe now.
It is. It's different. I think it's.
Yeah, I see. I don't have the age kind of wisdom there to get that
you
feeling.
Get
but like Robyn was saying though, like after 2019, like I could just be in a conversation with someone and then like I can get choked up and teary eyed just because I've seen the other side of the coin a little bit, and then I know how important like every one of these moments is, and I'm thankful for them. So every time
you have wisdom beyond your years because of your situation, and so you get what we see around us a lot.
Yeah. Because when Robyn was talking about that, like I said, I felt that. I feel it all the time. Where, like I can see a commercial sometimes, and I just like, yep, that hit me. Like,
the first show that would always get me, like, remember that Move That Bus? Remember they built somebody like a house that was like,
yes.
Oh my God, I would cry like a little bitch.
Yeah.
It's brutal. I'm like the hugest crier, man. Like,
and just wholesome moments. It just takes a good wholesome moment, and then I'm like, well, I'm done for the day.
Budweiser commercial during the Super Bowl kills me.
Budweiser.
Can I just mention though that the new Softer Brian, within 2 sentences of coming on, mentioned the Donkey Show in Tijuana. So
that's true. Well, that's
I'm
the
not
new
dead
Softer.
yet.
He's not lost his edge.
I haven't forgotten everything.
Yeah.
Potter still knows how to have a good time. I mean, come on. That'll
it just has to be before 11.
I think you're giving yourself a little credit there, Potter. I think if we're being real here.
Yeah. No, it's man, it's been a lot of this. Eugene Bissett, White Cindy passed this year as well.
Absolutely, yeah. It's been a rough year. We've lost really important people in the industry, and I hope people realize and are able to, appreciate what we lost and are able to take from it, like how to just be better humans, like just be good people, just be kind. I think that's kind of the mantra for the year, right? It's just be kind.
It should be.
That's the most important here. I think our country could learn from that a lot. We're not going to get political here today, but like we could learn, just be kind. I think that's it. And once again, that's the beautiful thing with Tom. He was just kind. He was just
a
beautiful person.
And thanks to you guys for, taking some time to highlight, Tom and get some folks on to share some thoughts and stories about him, because I appreciate that personally. And I know that the community will appreciate that as well. So, yeah.
I hope so, man.
Yeah,
I hope so. Thank you for that. I loved Tom deeply. He was a part of my entire adult life at this point. He was, and I was going to tell the story later, but we'll talk for a second about it. When I first started in the reptile industry, the first person I met was Tom Harbin, and I was walking around a show, and no one would talk to me. And this was at the Arlington NARBC, and no one would talk to me. And then Tom had some dreamsicle ball pythons that I had only seen on the internet, and I walked up to him and started talking to him about it. And after about 45 seconds, you could tell he was like over talking about the snakes. And Tom just goes, "So, what do you do outside of snakes?" And, I told him I'm finishing up my bachelor's degree, and I'm trying to look at grad schools to go to grad school. He's like, "Oh, well, I'm a doctor," and I was like, "Oh." And he gave me a lot of advice, and I ended up going to grad school on some of his advice. And through my entire PhD, one of the people that I could talk to was Tom. And it was like you talked about, I didn't spend hours on the phone with Tom, but 7, 8, 9 times a year I would see him, and we'd have these deep conversations about how I was doing and what I could do better. And it was just a very much so like a mentor, but not in the snake side, right? Like a life mentor. And and there was no prouder moment than the first October Tinley I saw him after I graduated grad school, and I was a doctor. And I walk into the show, and Tom's right there in line, ready to sign up. And the first thing, he just turns, and he just looks at me, puts his hand out, he's just like, "Dr. McKnight." And guys, it just killed me. I was the proud, like right below the moment when my mom and dad hugged me after I became a doctor was right there with that moment, because it felt like this person that walked me through the whole huge process of my life, was acknowledging it, right? And I think back to the last conversation I had with him at the Dallas and ARBC, and it wasn't just this student conversation where he was griping to me. The one thing he would occasionally be negative on were his interns that he would have, the young students, right? The youths of the and he was sitting there, and it was like two old men griping about, these kids these days, what are they even taught in school? And it was just this moment when I look back on it, it was like he was a colleague at that point. And it was just, I'm gonna miss that, guys. I miss that so much.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was just there. I mean, like I said, the first person. And he didn't care about the snakes. And I think that goes back to what you kind of said, Potter, of the snakes aren't what I'm going to remember Tom for.
No.
He cared about me as a person. And off of a 3-minute conversation, this 15-year relationship formed to the point where he would check on me. And I'm going to miss it so much. And I think that's the thing with Tom. I think that's, he was just kind. So anyway. Whew. Guys,
what a sap you are, Pat.
I know. God, I know, guys. I know. It's tough. All right. Molly is texting me, telling me we need to get the next guest on. So, Potter, Robyn, thank y'all so much.
Thank you guys for being on.
Thanks for having us, guys. I appreciate it.
We appreciate your time.
Some stories, and yeah, we'll see y'all. Potter, are you going to be at Daytona? I feel like I never see you at Daytona.
No.
Okay.
Well, I see enough reptile people at my own stuff. I do other things.
I do other things. Fair enough.
Well, all right. Well, if you get bored, come up and see us, and
come have a boys' weekend.
We'll buy you a drink.
Sounds good.
All right, brother. Have a good one. Thank you again.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate you all.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
All right. Bye. Molly, do you mind bringing JT in? Justin's not here yet, so we'll pull JT in. JT, how are you doing, buddy?
Doing all right. It's a little rough following the crew you had before.
Yeah. You know what? You're right.
all your emotions. But,
You're right up there with them.
and you know,
I know.
like, yeah, I didn't know Tom well, but, you know, when you talk to Tom Harbin, like, you were the only person in the room, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He talked to you, nothing else is going on. I think that alone just says a great deal about a person, right?
Yeah.
He was invested in what you were saying. He's invested in you. I think this, you know, it's sad to say, but this world is a worse place for not having Tom around right now. Because he's definitely a light in the room.
Yeah, man, I agree. I know, you know, you've obviously been in the industry longer than I was, and definitely going to the big shows and interacting with Tom, and you know, we've become good friends over the years, and never once have I heard anything negative from Tom, right, or you. And it's just like, one flaw was he didn't use Reptichip. Is that it? Is that the one fatal
What's
flaw?
that?
Is that is the one fatal flaw that he didn't use Reptichip? Is that the one?
You know, you wouldn't even notice if you you wouldn't even notice if you talked to Tom, you know, like if you had some preconceived ideas about anything, like you just get lost in, you know, interacting with you would know that that's just a good human right there.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, those are the things that are going to be missed, and those are the things that we need. I was listening to you guys speak earlier with Robyn and Potter, and touching on some of the stuff that Chase has been through, some of the stuff that you've interacted with Tom about, and my first real interaction with Tom, other than in passing at shows and just maybe stopping by and chatting about snakes. And that usually didn't last too long, right? Like you said, about the snakes, right? He was about the people.
Yeah.
So I had a tragedy about a year after Chase, not comparable, but still a tragedy. And I had a fire at my place, and you guys well know, and probably half the viewers know. And the community bonded together to help me out too. Just as we tried to do for Chase, like people came out of the woodwork to help me in my time of need. And Tom Harbin was one of those people. And I remember like getting a significant amount of money from somebody, and I'm like, Tom Harbin, I'm trying to place it in my mind. I'm like, Tom, hot dogs guy? You know, my head's other places right now, right?
Of course. Yeah.
Sometimes you just notice something significant, and it's not coming from somebody I'm like right away making a connection with in my mind. I'm like, no way. I remember in particular even going and looking up his name, like, oh, Tom, yeah, okay. And I went back at the next show that I went to just to track him down, and you know, hey, it meant the world to me. This guy, he barely knew, just coming out so big, just because his heart was about people and helping people. So I had to relay my feelings to him. And man, did he just wanted to, hey, how are you? And you just sort of lay it back on me. How's everything going for you? You know, it wasn't, nothing about Tom was about him. It was about you and how are you doing? Where are you at now? I mean, I don't know, kind of like you said earlier, if you can have a higher honor than the way people speak of you when you're gone. And, you know, it's obvious that he meant the world to a lot of people that he probably didn't even know about.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, I think so, man. I think so. And it just, and I know we keep saying it, and I think it's the important part. Like, obviously, he cared about reptiles and he cared about his snakes, but it really, the conversations Tom and I had at the shows were never, I mean, they were briefly about animals. And then it was always, like you said, immediately on to, and he never wanted to talk about himself, right? It was always Howard. He wanted to know about you as a human, as a person.
Very humble.
And he cared. And I think that's the thing too. He listened and he cared and he took it in. And it wasn't just like a fleeting moment of like a quick conversation and then, something else. It was, that first conversation we had when I went to the next, I think it was October Tinley was the next show after I met Tom, or March Tinley, one of them anyway. And he's the one who brought up, he's like, all right, have you applied to grad school? So what are you doing? And it was just like, I'm like, dude, you just met me. Like, why do you remember this? This doesn't matter. But it did, right? It did. And that was the thing. And, anyway, we're going to miss it, man. It's rough.
Big time.
It's
Big
tough.
time. Yeah, I mean, I remember any show I'd see him after 2019, he'd be like, well, Chase, how's your health? I'm like, oh, it's good. And he's like, okay, well, then how are you? What's going on in your life? Like, it was never about snakes, ever. And he always had that smile, man. I'm definitely going to miss that smile.
You can't beat that smile. Man, I don't know if you could. I don't know if you could get that guy not to smile.
It was basically impossible. I don't know if you could. Because even if it wasn't like the full-blown smile, it was like this Cheshire cat smirk, right?
100%.
I always got the feeling that he's listening too, right? He's listening, he's looking at you, and you're like, holy shit, somebody's actually listening, right? Like, you don't get that a lot, especially when you're talking to Patrick. So it's, this guy is actually listening to what I have to say and not thinking about what he's going to say in return. Sorry, Patrick.
No. You know what though? As I was thinking about saying that comment, I think that's a perfect thing. I think that's it. He was an active listener, and that's, man, kindness and active listening. How far would that go in the industry these days, guys? Like, maybe we should all take
right. Like,
from that.
I think as a whole, we kind of separate around like the bad things that are happening in the industry, the bad people, the bad stuff. And then we lose a guy like this, and that's bad. Like, we need more of them. But on the other hand, alluding to some things that you guys were talking about earlier, is like, we have a ton of great people in the industry. And I think that's a great lesson to take away from this. We've got a lot of great people, and we should rejoice in that. And we should also let them know. Because life is fit.
Yes.
Life is taken away like that, and you don't get a choice. So let the people know, right? At risk of sounding like the Hallmark movie. But I think it's important for us. I think, between you and I and Chase, like, we do that. We get together. We spend guy time together and stuff like that, kind of outside, mostly outside.
Yes.
I mean, but that's kind of that's us taking ownership and kind of getting together. Like, and I see other groups doing that too. I think that's kind of important for our community to keep doing those things and let each other know, like, you know what, we don't have to agree on the snakes, the reptiles, the whatever, right? Like, that's your professional stuff, right? Nobody's ever gonna agree on that stuff, but like, people like Tom and, kind of like see people for people and appreciate that, right? Like, that's, if anything can come out of that, I think that's a great lesson to take away from this tragedy.
Yeah, man. I think that is, I think that's beautifully said, and I think that's a perfect point. So I love it. All right, Molly is really doing a good job of staying on time here. I'm getting text messages saying move along.
Good for her.
Yeah, I know, she's crushing it. So
aren't you glad you hired her?
I am glad. JT, thank you for coming on.
Yeah, man. Thank you so much.
I know we say it in text messages and everything, but I love you and thank you for
Love you
doing
guys.
this.
I was gonna say,
You mean
we
the
always
world to
say
me.
it. Love you,
Yeah,
man.
you mean the world to me. Thank you so much. And I'll see you soon. A couple of weeks.
Yeah.
It'll be good.
Couple
All right,
weeks.
brother. Molly, Boodum, thank you. Can you bring in Justin? I believe he's next. Hey, Justin. How are you doing?
Hey guys.
I haven't seen you in like 10 hours, a whole 10
Yeah.
hours.
Good to see you guys.
Yeah, you too, bud. Thank you for coming on.
Yeah, man. It makes me hard to follow JT there. It's super heartfelt, but definitely wanted an opportunity to come on and just talk a little bit about Tom. For me too. It'll be short, but I wanted to just tell a couple stories of, Tom had a really early influence on me as a new breeder. I was vending down in Atlanta, my very first Atlanta show, or the first couple, and him being relatively close to Atlanta, he had been that one a lot, and we just had a lot of really cool experiences together. He was super encouraging. He was the kind of person that I think made my family members, my parents, thinking that maybe all ball pythons are okay because people are kind of nice in the industry. They met him and they thought, oh, maybe we'll encourage our son to do this a little bit.
He's definitely the ball python breeder to introduce your parents to. Like, no,
yes,
this is the role model.
Right. Yeah, they're all like this. They're all like this guy. Yeah. He was always just so nice and so kind. And I remember the very first time I had an opportunity, and he wanted to buy a snake from me. It was from the Dreamsicle project early on, and I was so honored that he would even be interested in buying one from me. And then I didn't hear anything for a couple of weeks, and then I get a call from Tom. He says, "Hey Justin, I just gotta let you know, I bought all those snakes from Ralph. He gave me a better deal, but I just wanted to let you know that." And I'm like, you know what? He was one of the only people ever who has reached back out to me and told me he wasn't going to buy and why. It didn't just ghost me. He's such a stand-up Christian man. And I especially love talking to him about his Christian faith towards the end, the last couple shows. And he was just, you could tell that he had a passion for snakes, but as he had left his practice, it seemed like he's had a passion for people and for his church and for his family and the people around him that I was just very inspired by. The same way he inspired me about snakes, I was inspired by his love for people. Yeah. And that's, to me, that's his legacy in the industry, is the effect he had on people all around him, and the positive, like he was always smiling at the shows. He was the guy you wanted to go by and make sure you said hi to him, because he's going to lift you up your whole day at that point.
Absolutely. Yeah. It really set the tone for the show, right? You have that conversation with Tom and you feel amped up. It doesn't matter what's going to happen. That you're good to go. You got some energy and vibes. Yeah.
It's amazing. Yeah, he'll be sorely missed. I don't know why we keep losing the good ones. I could think of a few maybe we might lose instead.
Oh,
but
buddy, let me tell you,
losing the good ones.
I said so. My mother is a very overly kind, a toxic positive person. So much positivity, it's almost toxic. And I made a similar comment to her, and she's like, "Patrick, that's not very nice." And I'm like, "But it's true." So, yeah, it's tough, man. It's tough. And I think it's beautiful. Like you talk about, like he impacted you so much early on. He impacted me personally early on. You think about how many breeders do we have in the industry now that because of kind, positive Tom, stuck it out or were successful or made the attempt, right? I think those are the little things too. Sometimes people don't realize, like those little nuggets of kindness can go so far and set a trajectory for greatness and for, opportunity. And it's just, it's just, I think that is Tom's legacy. Like you said, it's the people, it's the kindness, it's all of that. And I think as an industry, we have a lot to learn,
Yeah, how cool is it that we still have some of his family in the industry, and that the legacy lives on through them in our industry. We're not losing We're not losing everything. We have a little piece of him still with us, and I really appreciate that.
We do, and I'm so excited for that, and looking forward to the next show. Josh, a big hug, and having some tears with them and talking, about Dad. But yeah, man, it's a tough time. It's been a tough year. But it warms my heart to know the effect Tom had on like somebody like you. That does, and I think it would warm his heart too, and so that it's beautiful. So awesome, man.
Yeah,
awesome.
Well, thanks for having me on.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming on, Justin. Yeah, thanks for giving us a few minutes and just hanging out with us. I will see you soonish, maybe, possibly. Are you coming to Daytona?
Perhaps. We'll see.
Buddy.
I'll share a bed. I'll share a bed with you if I go.
I was going to say he might need to crash in the Airbnb or something for a night.
That's okay. Who's Big Spoon, Justin? Me or you?
I think I'll sit on the floor.
All right, bud. Sounds good. Thank you so much. In a couple of weeks, man. Oh, yep.
I love that Tom met all of us when we were just early on. Like how great is I met him in 2013 in a Shriners Reptile show basement kind of thing. Tiny show, and I was looking at highway stuff for the first time, and that's when I met him.
I had no idea. Like what Justin just said, right? Like one of his first shows, and Tom is there being encouraging.
Yeah, he was so nice. I was telling him all about the pinstripes I just hatched, my first clutch ever, and you would have thought with his reaction, he was just the big proud dad moment, how amazing that was, and it was just so encouraging, and not okay, neat, because I was so excited. He was so nice about it.
No, he was the best. He was the best kind of person. That's for sure.
Yeah, it's just amazing that all of us, when we were brand new into it, we got to meet.
I love
Tom.
it. So all right, Molly, will you bring in Brian, please? Hey, Brian.
Hey, Brian.
Hey, Pat. How you guys doing? Justin talked about following JT, and now I get to follow Justin.
I love that. That's the theme of the night. Everyone says they've got to follow everyone else.
Can I take a moment though to I think that's another beautiful thing about Tom. I reached out to people that I think are industry leaders and top of the fields, and not a single one was nope, can't do it. And I love that too, Brian. That's a good point. Everybody that keeps saying that, everybody's I gotta follow that person. I gotta follow that person.
Well, I mean, when you first called me, my response was, I'm not sure that I can do this. But after being at Schaumburg and talking, it's, it's going to be there a long time. I think about, I don't know how I could fit it in 10 minutes, but I think about not just the impact Tom had on me, the impact Tom had on the people that are important to me. The first time I ever met Tom was at a little reptile show in Chattanooga. It was before I started vending. I had interacted with him. It was the first time I met him face to face, and it's just like they said. It's when you're talking to him, you're the only person in the room. Everything else is shut out. And we talked about snakes for a minute, but we talked about so many other things. And Tom genuinely wanted to get to know you, and I was just ecstatic. My first show I vended, which I think it was late 2019, maybe 2020. I can't remember. It may have been the second show, but, I set up with the same group that I talk about that Tom had such an impact, Craig and Alyssa with Full Throttle. And that was when I first met Josh and Alicia, was at that Chattanooga show. And, I've got so many memories of that show. And, Alicia's daughter, Sydney, wearing the lab coat that, Mr. Tom had brought her, and, showing her how to suture on this little sponge thing on the table. It was just, and Alicia had told me how awesome Alyssa had told me how awesome he was, but there was no way to oversell that. It was when I ran into him, it was just insane. And, we sat there and we talked, and, I talked to Josh and Alicia. And then the next show I vended, he wasn't there, but Tom and Josh and Alicia were, and that's kind of where our friendship budded. And, and that's, I want to spend just a little bit of time to talk about them because, you know, Tom raised an amazing son. And I mean, I love that family. And when she called shortly after it happened, I mean, how do you even like respond to that? Like, how do you process?
I started crying. That's
I did immediately, and I mean, and then I spent the rest of the day crying. You know, it was the 4th of July. I mean, we were out shooting fireworks, and where we're not supposed to. You know, waiting on the cops to show up, and you know, it's, you know, it would just enter your mind and you think about it. I didn't sleep much that night because I was thinking about Tom, but I was also thinking about Miss Sarah, and I was thinking about Ben, and I was thinking about Josh and Alicia, and I was thinking about Alyssa, and you know, Alyssa and Craig were at the beach 75 miles away from where this happened, you know, and they had to put on a happy face for their kids to not have to ruin the vacation by telling them Mr. Tom was gone. And you know, when you think about that kind of stuff, man, and you bring the human element to it, I mean, I could repeat everything everybody said. I mean, of course, everybody knows Tom was the light of the show, you know. And then I remember my first, and I'm just going to say it, my first real show I did was Arlington, and I want to say 21. And I went by myself. You know, my wife hadn't started vending shows with me yet. And here I am, my 4th show. I'm setting up an 8 display, 2 tables set up with, you know, 120 something snakes there, and, you know, trying to figure out how I'm going to run this by myself, how I'm going to do it. And, you know, of course I'm always early to set up at the NARBC shows because I want to get set up so I can go look at the other things before I can't go look at the other things and go talk to the other people. Because like you guys said, I mean, your show family kind of becomes, I mean, it's real. It's not just bullshit like a lot of other things are. I mean, in a lot of ways, I feel closer to my show family than I do a lot of people in my real family because, I mean, those 6 times a year that I get to see everybody, it's just surreal. And there was nobody I look forward to seeing more than Tom. We were always backing in right at the same time to unload at Arlington on Friday morning, probably about 9 o'clock, probably hell before they were even had the table set up sometimes. And, you know, the first thing I would see, and this is going to be a common theme, was that smile, you know, and I knew it was going to be a good day. You know, I mean, there was something about starting the day interacting with Tom Harbin that made you know that was going to be a good day, and you knew it was going to be a good show if he was there. And I mean, I really mean this. The shows probably will never be the same for me without seeing Tom there. And you know, we weren't the best of friends. I didn't have a 15-year relationship with Tom. I knew him 8 or 9 years. You know, we talked several times. I've had a bunch of his animals. If I had an issue, he was the first one to help. But you know, it was, you know, we tailgate all the Tennessee football games with Josh and Alicia. They go on the boat with us. You know, I mean, they're really, really good friends of ours. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, they're our best friends. And, you know, we could hardly carry on a conversation about anything that Tom didn't come up. You know, I mean, there was, you know, Tom said or Tom did. And, you know, I think about how I'm sure they're watching. I love you guys. And I'm sure that's really difficult, you know, because they are going to carry that on, and nobody better could, because they are the spitting image of Tom. You know, that they're nice in every situation. You know, if there's ever conflict, they want to make peace out of that conflict. You know, I mean, it's just they're just genuinely good people, and you can't learn that. Like, that's not something you can be taught. You know, that's something that you are. And you know, in every interaction, I just hope to be a tenth of what Tom was. You know, I try to be positive, and you know, but my gosh, man, there's times that, you know, it's
tough.
It's hard to put on that smile. And I know there was probably times Tom put on that smile that he really didn't feel like putting on that smile. But he did, because it was who he was, you know, to his core. He was the brightest light at the show. You know, I mean, and you know, probably I regret that I didn't get to know him better. You know, I regret that I didn't talk to him more. I mean, our last interaction was on July 1st, and he told me he'd get back with me, you know, after he was back from vacation. And, you know, obviously that didn't happen. And, you know, it's tough. But, you know, I want to try to bring it a little bit lighter because it's not easy. And, you know, Tom, it was maybe the second to the last Arlington show. It was before we knew it was going to move to a new building and all that. And Tom had mentioned to me during setup that, he's like, hey, I think some of the people that, we've been with may not be making this long trip much longer. Would you want to maybe consider, taking over a couple of these tables or anything? And, at first I was like, man, I can't believe Tom Harbin just asked me, if I wanted to vend in his blog. But then I thought of how we act at shows, and I'm like, I'm not sure that I want Tom to see that side of me because I don't want him to think less of me. You know what I mean? And, because I mean, he was a very Christian man. He didn't, he didn't do some of the things that some of us do at shows, and so I was like, and of course, I mean, I was like, I really like our table placement, Tom. I love you to death, but I think, we're going to stay where we are. But I wanted so badly to do it, but I also so badly did not want to hurt his opinion of me and Beth Ed, because we do get a little wild at shows sometimes. But I mean,
I love that.
Oh God, it's just, I mean, I'm sure of you sharing this. I mean, there was literally nothing that I expected less on that day when I looked down at my phone and saw, Alicia Harbin's contact come up, than to hear what I heard. And the circumstances around it were just, I mean, so rough. It's one thing to, have an illness and expect something. It's another thing entirely to be on vacation with your family and not come home. And
it's tough, man. And it's
it is. But I mean, we need to remember all the positivity, and just like you said, we can use that so badly. I try to be positive in every situation I can be in, and I mean, it's hard to find positivity in this right now, but I mean, we're going to the Memorial Saturday, which I'm sure will be a lot more tears. It'll be the first time I'll get to hug Josh and Alicia's neck. But because they're running back and forth, there's a shitload of animals to take care of,
a lot
I mean, and they're having to go back and forth from here. They live 7 or 8 miles from me, and and they're having to go back and forth to take care of animals, and and they're doing it gladly, I mean, but I am so proud for Tom that he has someone to carry on his legacy, because that's something that I've thought about a lot. I'm not young, I mean, I'm not ancient, but I'm not young, and I'm not in the best shape, and I don't have the healthiest lifestyle. And I mean, I'm fully aware of that. And there's no vertical transmission of my business to anyone else. It would just be a a liquidation, and hopefully a little bit of security for the family I would leave behind. But it just he's smiling down, knowing that they're going to carry forward. And I couldn't be more proud of them for that. And I just love them.
No, I love that, Brian. And I mean, a big part of why we wanted to have you on, I know how close you are to Josh and Alicia, right? And they are a big part of this whole thing. And I will never forget the phone call. And
never. I mean, when Alicia was crying, I knew something had happened. I just didn't know what. And
I you're right. They are Tom. They're a spitting image. They're a chip off the old block. And I am glad that there is a piece there. There's a piece that when we go to the shows, we're still going to see the Harbin reptiles. We're going to see the herping Harbins, and we're gonna all rally around them, because that's what they need. That's what I mean. And that's how we can best honor Tom's tradition, is by remembering him and supporting them. And that's
absolutely.
I don't think we could do anything more.
No, I love that, Brian. Molly is texting me saying it's time.
I got it, man. I'm a talker. But hey, guys, thank you so much.
Brian, thank you for being on.
I'm absolutely humbled for being on.
Thank you, bud.
With the guests that I've been on with, and thank you so much for allowing me to share a little bit of how Tom impacted my life.
No, thank you so much, Brian, and I'll see you at the next show.
Absolutely, man. Y'all have a
appreciate
great
your
night.
time.
Bye,
Thanks,
Chase.
you too.
See you, buddy.
See you, man.
Thanks. Man, this night's not getting easier.
It's
really
not. It's not.
It's
but
not getting
I'm thankful.
easier.
I'm thankful everyone's able to, not everyone, but I'm thankful we're able to have some people on to
talk about it.
share how thankful we are for Tom and everything he did for us and how he touched us in different ways through the industry.
No,
It's pretty amazing.
It has been. All right, next guest is Ed and Emily of Snake Discovery. Molly, do you mind bringing them in? Hey guys.
Hey guys.
Hey.
Hello.
Good to see you both.
You
too.
Can I start with your webcam looks spectacular, guys?
Hey, you gave me so much crap last time, but I figured I had to set something up.
Patrick bullied people?
It's so weird.
No, I don't believe it.
It's truly shocking. Things are going. How are y'all?
We're doing okay.
Yep.
It's too bad that we're meeting under these circumstances.
Yeah.
But
Yes.
yeah, I think we're all kind of in that hanging in there phase, right?
Yeah. There's a song that has been stuck in my head for like 2 weeks. It's by Jelly Roll, and it's like I'm not all right, but it's gonna be okay. And that's just been kind of for like 2 weeks, right? It's just like it's gonna be okay. So I know y'all had interactions with Tom. Y'all were obviously at shows running around, and you had Tom on your shows. I know you'll have some of Tom's animals, and yeah, what was it like being snake discovering and interacting with Tom?
Well, it was kind of interesting because the first time we ever met him, basically we didn't know who he was.
Fair.
It kind of led from a friend who was like, "Oh my God, look, I got this hognose snake. It's from Tom Harbin," and we're like, "Who's that?" And we'd walk by his table, and Emily just said that he had a blue table. He always had a blue tablecloth. I'm like,
Couldn't
"Did?"
miss it.
Yeah. But we would basically like always stop by because he had hognoses there, and we'd look at the hognoses and all that kind of stuff. But we didn't really realize who he was until like we got further into being into the NARBCs, being into the shows, and then we could actually sit down and like realize who he was and kind of go, wow, this is a guy who is very prominent in the hobby, very good at what he does. And then one day we're walking by, and all of a sudden he's like, "Oh, Snake Discovery, come over here. I got some cool things to show you." And we're like, "Holy crap, he knows who we are."
Yeah, it meant so much. And then we got to talking to him a bit more, and we learned that he is a full-fledged veterinarian, and he knew so much about hognoses. And then we started kind of getting the idea of how much he was into hognoses. I mean, I know he bred other things, and other people, affiliate him with other species. But for us, it was hognoses because that's what we were getting into at the time. So we, just started talking about hognoses, and he was the friendliest person we had ever met at these shows, at the NARBCs. Always smiling, always just chipper, I guess is the word I would give to him.
Oh my God, I love that chipper.
He was always that type of personality. And it didn't matter if you were new to the hobby, if you were an advanced keeper or breeder, if you were young or if you were old. He, spoke to everyone in the same way.
Yeah.
And it's like, wow, he just dedicated that much attention to each individual person. And it seemed like he truly had a good time doing it too. He didn't seem to get tired throughout the weekend. He genuinely loved just sharing his passion for reptiles, whether it be ball hype.
And I remember that was one of the big things he talked to us about is like, you guys have a fan base, and I see people come over here and look at the hognoses, and then they're like, "Do you know Snake Discovery?" And we're like, I don't know what you're talking about, But he was like, "I love it. I love seeing the kids have the enthusiasm, and I let them see the animals up close." And it was just like somebody who's got the ability to give the kids a chance to explore their passion is really what's needed in the hobby. And he was one who would always do that.
Yeah. And like he would encourage kids. We made a post when he had passed on our Facebook page, and I was reading through the comments about all these stories and experiences various people had with him. And somebody had commented saying, "My son bought a hognose from him, and then he gave him a second one for free," just because that's what kind of a guy he was. He wanted to encourage that passion by giving, a suitable breeding, pair, I guess, to the snake that this kiddo bought. And it's like, that's the kind of person he was. So he actually, after we had really started talking to him after our first show, really just talking to him, I think it was the one we interviewed him at one of the NARBCs. Soon after the show, he actually emailed us asking if, since we had kind of geeked out over the new Sunburst morph at the time, we're like, oh my gosh, someday we would love to have a hognose. You know, we're just having fun seeing one in person for the first time. Well, he emailed us the week after that show. I don't remember what show it was, asking if we would take a male Sunburst hognose snake from his collection, just ship it to us. He didn't ask for anything in return. Wow. He just wanted to feed that passion and give us, you know, no charge whatsoever, just a hognose, a Sunburst hognose snake. And at the time, that morph was $3,000 or something, and he didn't care about the price tag at all. He just saw passion and wanted to feed it, essentially. So we still have that snake, and it's breeding size next year. So we've actually named it Tom, and that's hopefully going to produce some nice snakes for us next year and can kind of continue Tom's legacy. We actually learned that since he's a veterinarian, he worked on, again, hognose related for us. He worked on the first, or one of the first, lavender morph hognoses in captivity in his clinic because it had some health issues. So he worked with it, got it to breeding shape, and then that snake produced, or initially sired, what is now the established population of lavender morph hognose snakes in the entire community. Wow. So to think that they all, according to him anyway, and I completely trust him on this,
sure,
that they all originated from that snake that he worked on. It just, that's my favorite morph anyway. So it just makes it even that much more special, I suppose. Yeah. But yeah, and he was always like ahead of the game, or right with the leading edge of the game when it came to breeding hognose snakes. And he was the first to produce the Conda Sunburst hognose. Was that Solar Flare?
Solar Flare? Yeah.
That was Solar Flare. Yeah. So then he, on top of it, produced the first Super Conda Sunburst hognose, and that's the Solar something else.
Yeah, they get real wonky.
I can't remember. Solar Blast, maybe, was that one? Yeah. I can't remember the exact morph of the Super Conda Sunburst, but he was right there with it, not only just producing, you know, pet quality hognose snakes for kids just getting into it, but he had the high end stuff too.
Yeah.
So he had a huge variety and just a huge passion for the whole thing.
Yeah, he was crushing it.
Yeah. And I mean, it was one of those things that we saw, you know, we'd be chatting with him and he'd see somebody come up to his table and he'd just be like, hey, I'm sorry, I'd love to continue chatting with you, but there's somebody over here really quick. And you could just see him lock in with them. And I think JT was saying that he would talk to you like you're the only one in the room. And it's 100% true. No matter if you were, you know, yay high to, you know, anyone in this room, anyone on this podcast, he would lock in with you and just basically like, hey, what are you interested? How can I help you? What can I do to further your passion? And it's just, it was, you know, it's an insane
just
trait,
the
connection that he,
Yeah, he had a remarkable memory too. It seemed like he recognized and remembered almost every person that walked by his table.
Every one of them.
Yeah, we would hover a bit looking at all the beautiful hognoses that he always had. We bought some at the last Tinley from him, actually. But we would always, you know, take a look and see what all he had, and we would overhear conversations that he would have with so many people. And it's like they had just had a discussion last night about whatever he was picking up on at that point. And it's like, how can his mind must be a steel trap, because he did not seem to forget anybody. So that was also so impressive.
Oh, it's Solar Storm.
Solar Storm. That is
so close. Yes. So close.
We were close.
So the NARBC Arlington, where y'all might have caused a bit of a stir due to a line going down the middle. It's funny.
You're talking about, Patrick.
That wasn't us.
Well, all the breeders do. We all remember.
I'm sorry. I apologize. You know, it's funny when I think back on that, right? And there was, you know, a little bit of ruckus from the breeders, except for one, ironically, and it was Tom. And when we talked about it, you know, Tom's thing was, there's something else, aren't they? And I think that was just like the epitome of Tom, right? Because he saw the good. He saw like, whether especially ball python breeders want to acknowledge it or not, y'all might be okay for the industry, and it might help the industry.
No.
I mean, that reminds me of my most recent email I got from him, which was
Oh God.
Maybe it wasn't my most recent one, but the one I was able to pull up that was actually in regards to the subbers that he sent us.
Yeah.
He actually said, "Emily and Ed, you are doing some great work, and I love to support good work. You have helped change our hobby/industry. I hope you enjoy the Sunburst Hognose." Like, that is the epitome of Tom. Just always,
Yeah.
you know, he was never focused on himself or what he was working on. He always saw the good and the best in other people.
Yeah.
And we need more people like that out there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We desperately do. And, you know, Potter and Robyn kind of mentioned, and JT too, you know, it feels like the industry is swinging more towards that. I do feel like there is more positivity and a little bit more joy and things like that, and excitement. But man, like, I just hope that people can like sit back and look at that and just take that in, take that perspective in, and just be like, you know, not just like catching more flies with honey than vinegar, but just like genuinely being a good, kind person has such a fundamental effect on all of us. You know,
especially, yeah.
Emily, we go to the shows and we watch the massive lines of kids line up to see you. And my mom, when she was watching you interact with those kids, she brought up, she's like, she has so much energy. Like, how? And I'm like, she's like, that must mean so much to those kids. And it reminds me of at the very beginning of the show when Justin was sharing his story of how that's what Tom did to Justin. And we look at what happened. And we went from this awkward, nerdy, 6'3" lanky dude in an Atlanta show talking to Tom Harbin to becoming an absolute powerhouse in the reptile industry. And I'm so thankful, and I think this is what Tom saw in you guys, is that joy and that happiness and the kindness. And I think that's what some people miss, and they don't understand like the effect that I think in 10, 20 years, we're going to really start seeing that effect. So,
I mean, that email he sent to us meant so much to me at the time, like, especially coming from someone like Tom Harbin. I'm like, oh my gosh, that I couldn't believe the kind words that he had said. And that, I think, combined with hearing those positive conversations he would have with people when we were hovering around his booth, I think those two combined were kind of inspiration. Like, positivity is key here. You see so much negativity and toxicity throughout social media platforms that it starts to kind of wear you down. But then you start seeing these positive individuals who are so genuinely nice that balances it back out a little bit. And that's what everyone needs to strive to be.
Yeah. I love it. Guys.
Absolutely.
I think that's beautiful. Thank y'all so much for coming on. Molly's telling me I got to move on. Apparently, even snake discovery gets cut off. Sorry, guys.
I see
That's
how
okay.
Oh man.
Guys,
Thank you guys.
Thank y'all
Appreciate your
so
time.
much for giving us some time. I know it was a busy day today, and y'all fit us in. Thank you so much.
Oh, thanks for having
Thanks
us.
for having us.
Are y'all going to be at Daytona?
We have not been to that show yet.
Come on.
One of these days, we'll have to make a trip down there. I've heard good things.
Yeah, come join Boys Trip.
Yeah.
Ed, Emily,
We don't set up. We just go down and have fun for a
we
weekend.
do. Yeah, Ed, you can come. Emily, you can tag along because all of our wives see along as well, but it's really a boys trip.
Yeah, we do say
I'll
boys
just
trip,
stick in the
but
hotel.
everyone's wives show up. So
Yeah, it's fine. But
We're an afterthought. That's okay.
it's all good. All right, guys. Thank y'all so much again, and I'll see y'all soon.
see you guys.
Sounds good.
Yeah, have a good one. Bye, guys. Oh, man. Once again, like, I need to, like, what Emily just said, like, the inspiration. Like, how many people did he actually positively? I mean, we know he affected a ton of people positively, but, guys, this is, like, what being
It's amazing.
kind can get you.
It really is.
It's
Like
incredible.
that's exactly it. Like that's what kindness does.
It is.
Kindness just echoes and it's a ripple effect. You know both things do bad things and kindness. Choose kindness because look what it does. Look at the impact.
It's incredible. So we have a surprise guest, Chase. The last minute text in. Molly, would you please bring him in? Hello, Troy.
What's up?
Hey, buddy.
Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you.
Yeah, how's your cave?
Okay. I mean, I'm driving down the road and I'm holding one phone and then a flashlight so that you can see me. And this seems real weird.
Do you just wanna hold the phone and no flashlight? That way you don't die while driving.
Yeah.
Lose you.
Oh, I should say Lisa's driving.
Okay, that makes us feel way better. You
I
probably
all of a
should have led
sudden-
with that.
Yeah, I feel much better all of a sudden.
All right, yeah. Well, I just wanted to hop on. Nice to see you too, by the way. But I wanted to share just a quick story about Tom.
Yeah.
You know, Brian Cusco, John Feely, Jerome Holland, they started this like reptile church. And it started out in Pomona. And the last Arlington we were at, before moving to Dallas, we had one in a little back room. And Tom spoke about forgiveness. And it hit me pretty hard. I have a really hard time with forgiveness. I think a lot of people do. But it struck me. And the way he spoke about it, the kindness of his way of forgiveness and how we should all learn to forgive was really heartwarming and very kind, as everybody has said. And I just wanted to jump in and just share that quick, tiny story. And hopefully myself and others, we learn forgiveness and on top of kindness. And so wanted to share that really quick.
Yeah, man, I love that. It's just Tom, right? It's just a kind-hearted, good human. I can't imagine him holding a grudge. I can't imagine. So, I love that, man. I love that. I love it. I appreciate you helping and sharing.
Yeah, I will get out of the way so people don't have to watch my phone bounce and my flashlight and Lisa driving. Oh, she probably didn't like that.
I'm driving.
Please don't blind your driver.
Please don't.
Yeah, she hates me. But hey, good to see you guys. I will get out of the way and thank you for doing this.
Good to see you too, man.
All right, see you guys.
Yeah, bye. Oh, buddy. I only cried like 3 times, so I'm going to take that as a win.
Yeah, you held it together, even though it doesn't matter. You can cry if you want.
Matter. I can cry if I want. All right, I don't have a lot to add. Do you have any story you want to share? I know we kind of
I don't. I mean, I
Yeah.
talked to him at every show. It was one of those relationships kind of like Potter where it's just at the shows. And it was just him, meeting me back in like 2013, like I said, like a Shriners Reptile basement show. So
I love it, man. Yeah,
I'm just very thankful for all our conversations. He was a great person.
He was a great person. He obviously had an incredible impact on a huge swath of the reptile industry. And I know, I believe, I hope that Josh and Alicia both can take incredible pride in knowing that like the legacy that Tom left was kindness and just being a good person.
Absolutely.
And I really think that's like, man, I know it won't be said when I die. Probably more sarcastic and snarky, but man, like
I'm going to make lanyards for that event.
Please do. Yes. See, this is what we're doing.
This is why.
I need you and Robyn though to fight over who's going to hand out more lanyards at the funeral. It's going to be a good event. I love it. Oh, all right, guys. This was a tough one. Thank you, everyone. I didn't look at comments the whole episode, guys. I'm sorry that we didn't get to comments this week. Everybody that did comment and shared stuff, I will go back and read through stuff, and we appreciate y'all.
Yeah, and to the Harbins, you guys have been in our prayers for the last couple of weeks now, and you'll continue to be in our prayers. So if you guys need anything, reach out. For real.
Yeah,
we're here.
Absolutely. Robyn, I see you still backstage. Stick around for a second when we end it. We'll be back in after we're done. To everybody listening, thank y'all. I miss my friend. I'm so thankful though that I get to keep going to reptile shows and I get to make more friends. And I hope that I get to meet more people like Tom. And so thank
Absolutely.
y'all.
Tell your friends you love them.
Tell your friends you love them.
We do it all the time, almost daily. So
daily. If you're at Daytona or any of the RBCs and you see us, come up, talk to us. I'm going to do my best to give you the Tom treatment. So
yeah.
With that being said, thank you again, everyone. We love you, and we will see y'all next week.
Thank you, guys.